We have some breaking news concerning the Jeffrey Epstein files. Today, the House Oversight Dems, of course not the Republicans, who continue to slow walk any version of transparency to the American people when it comes to the Epstein files. The House Oversight Dems releasing 10 photographs and 4 videos that were in response to a November 18th letter that was served on the United States Virgin Islands Attorney General from House Oversight. And we have a link to them. There are 10 photographs and 4 videos, but I want to get into how they were produced because I think that's equally as important as what was produced. According to the letter dated November 18th to the United States Virgin Islands Attorney General, Department of Justice, in 2020, the USVI Attorney General Denise George filed a law enforcement action against Jeffrey Epstein's estate and 10 Epstein-created entities because of violations of anti-criminal, enterprise, sex trafficking, child exploitation, and fraud laws of the Virgin Islands. A settlement was reached in December of 2022, requiring the defendants to pay the Virgin Islands $105 million in cash, plus 1/2 of the proceeds from the sale of Little St. James. That is the island that is depicted in the photographs and the videos that were produced today by House Oversight Democrats. A separate lawsuit was filed by the USVI against JP Chase, alleging that that bank facilitated Epstein's sex trafficking venture, not only by banking Epstein, but allowing him to draw $1.75 million in cash for payment to Epstein's victims, and also by banking the victims themselves. A settlement was reached under which JP Chase paid $75 million to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, House Oversight said, we request the following documents and information in an unredacted form no later than December 2nd, which was yesterday, concerning the following 3 cases. In re the estate of Jeffrey E. Epstein, which is the estate of Epstein. Number 2, the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands versus the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. That's the one that we talked about just a couple of minutes ago that resulted in the $105 million in cash plus half of the proceeds from the sale of Little St. James Island. Number 3, the government of the USVI versus JP Chase, we just talked about. Number 4, all documents and communications relating or referring to any federal or local criminal investigation or potential criminal investigation of Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, that is foundationally how we ended up with what we got today, the 10 photos and 4 videos. Now, we're hearing from a spokesperson for House Oversight who says that these were selected photos and videos by House Oversight Democrats and that there's more. We do know that there are at least 5,000, I want to say. I don't want to double check this to make sure that I'm accurate with the information I provide to you always. There are approximately 5,000 documents that were received in response to subpoenas that were served on JP Chase and Deutsche Bank for Epstein's financial records by House Oversight. According to Congressman Garcia, those records are being processed and will be released to the public shortly. And again, a spokesperson for House Oversight saying that there's actually more. So let's get it, right? But I want to focus on this because it just goes to show we are on the eve of theoretically getting the entirety of the Epstein files released by the Department of Justice. That would be December 19th, which is in 16 days. And that was because an entire law had to be passed to be able to get it done. But we also know that Donald Trump, in a not so secret way, demanded that Pamela Jo, Attorney General of the United States, more accurately, personal counsel to Donald Trump, that Pamela Jo launch an investigation into Democrats only that are relating to the Epstein files. And we know that she handpicked the Southern District of New York's U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to be able to do so. We also know that the Epstein Transparency Act, that is a law now, that particular law has baked in restrictions, including but not limited to the idea that if there's an open investigation going on, that certain records can't be produced, i.e., e.g., ergo, the reason why Donald Trump said to Pamela Jo, launch an investigation into the Democrats, thereby trying to stonewall production. But you know what didn't have any restrictions? The freaking subpoena to the Department of Justice that was served back in August, to which the DOJ has only produced a certain limited number of documents, 97% of which, according to Congressman Robert Garcia, were already publicly available documents, either because Ghislaine Maxwell went to her jury trial and those were a part of the public trial, or they are things that have been a part of civil litigation against Epstein, Maxwell, and others that were not sealed in some way. In other words, the Department of Justice has slow-walked, slow-rolled, created obstacles, thrown up hurdles to produce the Epstein files, despite claiming that they think that we deserve to have all the information. Now, let's get into what was actually produced today. 10 photos and 4 videos. Now, they are depicting bedrooms, or they look like bedrooms. They're also depicting videos of the grounds, the pool, cabana areas, etc. There are no people, no photographs of people. There is a glimpse of a person in a mirror who is actually using the video camera at the time. And you can scour these photographs, you can, magnify them or whatever. There are a few that have redactions, and I noted them. One, which is image, IMG 5261 is redacted, and it's a phone, kind of like an old school phone, and it has like an auto dial directory on the right side, and there are names there. The redactions, according to an aide from House Oversight, were of women's names, and an abundance of caution in the event that those are victims of Jeffrey Epstein. There's another photograph, image 5294, and it's a redaction of what looks like a blackboard. And in order to understand the context of that, you go to image 9221, which is redacted, and it looks like a study or like a large room with a desk and shelves. And there's kind of like a trio of blackboard kind of material on the wall. And that is what image 5294 shows. And it has words like power, deception, political, scribbled on them in someone's handwriting, kind of like in chalk, right? So we're coming into the holidays and there's a lot of pressure to be able to buy things, right? And so I wanted to talk to you about PDS debt. We've talked about it before here at the Katie Phang News channel. You want a fresh start because it's the same system, right? The banks are winning and you're the only one who's paying. And the fees and the calls are just piling up monthly, but you can fight back. PDS debt has already helped hundreds of thousands of people cut their debt and put money back in their pockets, not into the banks. So whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS debt has custom options to help get you out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation, and they're there to craft a personalized plan that's designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. The great thing is PDS debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. It boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and it holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS debt has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Every month you wait, though, is going to cost you more in interest and fees. So the best time to start was yesterday. The second best is to start now. Look, if I had needed this product, PDS debt is exactly what I would use. So don't wait another month. Take back control over your finances in just 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/Phang. That's spelled Phang. That's pdsdebt.com/Phang. Just in case you didn't catch it, it's pdsdebt.com/Phang. Image 9221 that shows that study with kind of like chairs, armchairs, and a desk, etc., has the blackboard, and it has the redacted images on it as well. One of the kind of odder ones is image 5332S, which shows a room with what looks like a dental chair and also a series of random masks of faces on the wall. Look, when you know what happened there, frankly, at the entire island, the entire thing skeeves you out because it's pretty disgusting. But Little St. James was kind of the epicenter of the trafficking of these little girls. It was the island to which Jeffrey Epstein would fly these little girls to be able to abuse them, where Ghislaine Maxwell also was complicit and participated in the abuse. And that is where most of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others say is the sexual abuse was perpetrated against them. According to the New York Times reporting, these photographs and videos were taken in 2020. So one of the questions that I had was, obviously, we have this thing called chain of custody in the law. And I wanted to know, well, who's taking these photographs and who's taking these videos? My presumption is it's law enforcement. Thus the reason why the United States Virgin Islands Attorney General's Department of Justice had possession of these and turned them over. Now, what's interesting is House Oversight Dems claim that this is the first time anybody's ever seen these particular photos and videos. There is no attendant court order that I have seen that said that these have now been unsealed in some way from the litigation. So to whatever extent they could have been accessed previously or have been or just never been made public, that remains an open question at this time. Again, we don't know who actually scribbled those words on the blackboard, but anyway, that's what ended up happening in terms of what was redacted. And again, the aide from House Oversight stating that the names of women were redacted. And so I'm going to make an assumption that if that's the case, then what's been redacted on the blackboard are the names of some women from there. Now, what's also relevant for you to know is the following. On December 3rd, which is today, a letter was sent from a bipartisan group of United States senators, as well as 2 congressmen, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. The senators are Jeffrey Merkley, Ben Ray Lujan, and Lisa Murkowski. The letter is directed to Pamela Jo, and it basically says, look, we are the bipartisan lead sponsors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We know that there's a due date coming up for this. In the interest of transparency and clarity on the steps required to faithfully implement this act, we request a briefing either in a classified or unclassified setting to discuss the full contents of this new information in your possession at your convenience, but no later than Friday, December 5th, 2025. The new information that they're referencing is the November 19th press conference within which Pam Bondi said that the new investigations into the Democrats is going to be headed up by Jay Clayton that we just talked about, that there was, quote, information that has come forward, new information, additional information, end quote. She's never provided any details about this, she being Pamela Jo, because we all know it's just bullshit. And she's just doing whatever the hell Donald Trump is telling her to do. These sponsors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act go on to write in this letter, we share concerns about the department's ability to accurately identify and redact the victims' names, so we're telling the Department of Justice you should coordinate directly with the attorneys for the victims' lawyers so that you can get help to redact to prevent any privacy violations. And it's a very short letter, and it was sent today on December 3rd. The pressure is on, folks. Theoretically, we should have all of these records produced pursuant to this Transparency Act by December 19th. Tick-tock, tick-tock goes the Epstein clock. We know that this insanity that is happening with Venezuela, the prospect of a land war, is to distract from the Epstein files. It's always going to be a distraction from the Epstein files. So we always have to be grateful for the House Oversight Dems when they get stuff, giving it to the American people. Because remember, it's House Oversight that served the subpoena on the Epstein estate, that got us the birthday book, and all of the other materials that are produced by the Epstein estate, including financials. I can't wait to see the financials from JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank. Financials are incredibly powerful. You follow the money. It opens doors to identities, to transactions, to interested parties. That's what we want to know. We know Epstein, we know Maxwell. We know a lot. We want to know about the people that perhaps nobody's ever talked about before, that the victims maybe have been talking about, but nobody was listening to them. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability. We got another tranche of information, maybe not as big as we would have expected or have liked to have received, but you know what? We're getting it, and it's happening, and we're grateful. See you on the other side. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.